What's up, everybody? Welcome. House Divided on a Monday. Full steam ahead towards February. Last Monday's show of the month of January. Where does it go? I don't know, but I know this show is brought to you by Texas Card House. They bring you House Divided every single day. They got locations all over the state of Texas. They also have their new product, Hijack, out. If you haven't checked it out, if you're a poker player, you just go on, you can just download the app like I have. You can play for money, real cash games, real tournaments with real people, just like the old days when we used to do it online back in the boom. Scan that QR code, use that promo code. Orange Bloods are going to give you $20 when you use it. It's good through the 31st. So, take advantage of it now. But, man, there are tournaments that just you can get your fix. Trust me, if you're a poker player inside the state of Texas, you got to have it. You got to download it. You got to use it. Win money. It's that simple. And play games, play cards all day long whenever you want to. That's the beauty of Hijack. Chad, busy old full weekend. And everybody like, comment, subscribe to the page, jump into the specs chat, super chat. We'll take them all. Sorry. Just said I'm programmed. It's the most radio thing I do is the first minute is to be like, say all of the things that you're supposed to say. We've got a rumor mill that earlier this morning was like a little bit off the chain. Like, it's one thing for us to be talking about a player in the portal who's looking at Texas and Texas A&M and Florida. And isn't that potentially an interesting trio to choose from for an interior defensive lineman? The Pete Kwiatkowski thing just came out of nowhere. In fact, this literally is not on orangebloods.com. Mm-hmm. A site with the most active message board in all of college sports athletic message boards. I mean, but it found its way into the Overreaction Monday chat. There was a whole lot of the rumor mill's getting out of control. Pete Kwiatkowski to Ohio State. It's not... People aren't talking about it on Orange Bloods, but it's in the ether. So it felt like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Hero Naku, the defensive tackle from Ohio State, who we did briefly touch on Friday. He visited Texas over the weekend. He's visiting Florida today. He's supposed to go to Texas A&M either later tonight or tomorrow. This guy's in a hurry to take as many visits as possible. A lot of SEC theme inside of the visit so far. Do we just start with Kwiatkowski? Do we acknowledge? Let's start there, because if nothing else, we can laugh at Oklahoma a little bit here.
Well, that's always an option. But I do think that's a good place to start, because, Catch, even when your coaching staff is solid, the other coaching staffs can affect it. So, when you have those moves, I didn't even realize as we went into the weekend that Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator of the national champions, was even thinking about going anywhere.
That had been rumored on the eve of the game, on the night of the game. There was a ton of speculation that as soon as the game was over, he was going to become the new Oklahoma defensive coordinator.
Oh, see, I didn't even realize there was any kind of rumors out there. Okay.
Yeah. That's why we're going to laugh at OU fans.
Fair enough. Okay. So the rumors were he might have been headed somewhere else, maybe OU. He does end up somewhere else, but it's very much not Oklahoma.
Yes. And, sometimes you see this on staffs, specifically with Ohio State. He wins a national championship. These rumors had been out that he was looking around, and depending on, whether you're looking at an Oklahoma website or Ohio State reporting, it just seems like it wasn't completely cohesive on that staff. And, maybe it's the type of stuff that you wondered, would this happen when Gary Patterson showed up at Texas? Are there too many cooks in the kitchen? It sounds like at Ohio State, maybe from his perspective, there were too many cooks in the kitchen. Whatever the reasons may be, sometimes guys just want to take different jobs. He'd been at Ohio State since 2022. He's been there 3 years. He wins a national championship. Maybe he was good. Can't be ignored that Penn State is paying him $3 million a year. He's from the state of Pennsylvania. I think he's a Philly guy. So he's going home.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Penn State. If you're not, by the way, if you're Knowles and you want to
$3 million, jeez.
If you want to become a head coach, go to Penn State. Be seen as the missing piece for a team that's bringing everything back except for Abdul Carter to a team that finished as a semifinalist. If they get over the hump and he wins a national championship at Penn State, nobody laugh. I'm just throwing it out there. Certainly his profile as a defensive coordinator looks a lot different if he's a guy that has suddenly done that. I think it's really interesting when I heard the news, the idea of Pete Kwiatkowski in Ohio State never registered. I just never crossed my mind that it's being talked about, at least on social media to some degree today, as a possibility. I suppose it makes sense. The happiest people in the world yesterday would have been the rest of the defensive coordinators across the country that are good. Because they're like, because $2 million has been kind of the threshold. In fact, I think the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, the number 5, and the number 6 defensive coordinators in the country were all between 1.9 and 1.8.
And Kwiatkowski's in that range, right? 1.5 to 2, somewhere in there.
He's like at 1.9.
Right. Okay.
When they I think if I remember correctly, they took a new deal to the Board of Regents a year ago, and he's at 1.9. I think he had been at 1.7. So I think he got a little bit of a bump coming off of a playoff year. But, like now, 3's the new barometer. And if you're one of these guys that's in that $1.92 million range, the way you get to 3 is you come off a really good year or somebody is interested in you. I think what's really fascinating about this is that 12 months ago, when Steve Sarkisian brought in Johnny Nansen, I think there was some thought of, okay, well, if this defense jacks around a little bit and is 120th in the country in pass defense again, then Sarkisian probably has his guy to replace Pete Kwiatkowski and Johnny Nansen. They're longtime boys. Nansen's got his own resume that kind of speaks for itself, that strongly suggests he's overqualified to be the number 2 on a defensive staff, that he should be closer to getting a head coaching job than being a position coach when he could be a coordinator. But he and Sark are boys. And Onward pointed it out, and it's like, oh, yeah. If Pete Kwiatkowski ever left Texas for any reason at all, and Nansen is on the Texas staff, Johnny Nansen will be the hire, and nobody will feel like that was some form of nepotism or, reaching and elevating a guy that might not be ready. Nansen's got approved. This guy was up for head coaching jobs last year, and now he's kind of a co-defensive coordinator and a position coach. So Texas is in pretty good shape. You can already see the move that would ever be made if a move ever needed to be made. But I would tell Texas fans, there's no sense that Pete Kwiatkowski is unhappy at Texas. He's had other job opportunities to go back out west. In fact, if there was ever a thought that Kwiatkowski would leave Texas, the thought would be that he would go back and be closer to the West Coast. Maybe that he would go to Columbus doesn't jive with what we think we previously know about Kwiatkowski. So I got a million things on my brain. Kwiatkowski going to Ohio State really isn't near the top of that list, but we're talking about it because, quite frankly, it makes a great thumbnail on the YouTube show.
It does that. Yeah. That's going to get some.
Thank you to the rumor mongers out there, because if you don't think we use that for clickbait today, you are wildly mistaken.
That is exactly what that was. Yeah. So thank you for the thank you to the rumor mill for all that. So we got the coaching rumor mill out of the way. We'll talk players at some point, obviously, coming up. If you guys want to jump in, chats have already started. Haven't seen a super chat yet. We'd love to see that. If you'd like to throw us a super chat, throw something in the old tip jar, please do that. Today, we will get you a buy or sell later on. Also, we'll be thanking some of our great partners. Ketch mentioned Texas Card House. I will mention another one here in Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Here's what happened to me on Friday night. I go to the wrestling event. I go to SmackDown with one of my best friends in the world, my man Rick. Rick is a CPAP guy. And he knows my wife also has a CPAP. So it was like he wanted to compare notes. Hey, how's she doing with it? And I said, oh, man, she loves it. They're the exact same path in that they both had trouble at one point getting used to it. But once they committed, they're committed. And they can't imagine sleeping without it. That was their path. Your path may be a little different. Mine certainly was. But the bottom line is Sinus and Snoring Specialist is going to figure out what's going on with you. Sinus-wise, get rid of your allergies. If you have those bad allergies, they can get rid of them for good. Those sinus headaches you've been having, all that snoring and sleep apnea issues that you've had going on, they can take care of it. Call them at 601-0303. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live, or go to sinussnoringent.com. They will make sure you are feeling rested, healthy, make sure you feel better, make sure you sleep better. It's what they're all about. Check them out. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel healthy, feel clear, feel rested, feel ready to go. That's what they're all about. Thanks to them and all of our great partners around here at Orange Bloods Live. And it was good to see a little SmackDown on Friday night. All right, Ketch. So we hit the coaching part of this thing. Are you ready for a little Portal Combat talk? Are you ready?
Do we have a new jingle?
New jingle? No.
Okay.
But we have the kazoos ready to fire up. It will make you smile. Let's talk about a big old Ohio State defensive tackle. Here we go. Get over here! And Ketch, I would like to give our man Travis Gailey of Orange Bloods big credit today for throwing a "we don't need another hero" old man joke into the group chat. It was there before I could even realize it should have been there. Well done, Travis. Well done. Because his name is Hero. Ketch, Hero Kanu is a big 6'5", 300+ pound D tackle for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He is into the portal. And it feels like he definitely knows the conference he wants to be hanging out in. I think my man wants some SEC love.
Are you a Bonnie Tyler, I Need a Hero fan?
I'm also a fan of that one. Yeah, either one. So you could have gone with
that's the song association.
That's the one you would have gone with. See, Travis went with one of my favorites, Tina Turner. You were going with Holding Out for a Hero. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. He went with the "we don't need another hero" reference. So just either way.
And I suppose it comes down to your perspective on this.
That's it. And yeah, and there may be a group of SEC teams that feel like they don't need another hero. And one of them is going to say they were holding out for a hero.
The whole thing about that song is it's called Holding Out for a Hero. But, like the hook is, I need a hero. Right. And then the rest of the
I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. He's got to be strong. He's got to be sure. He's got to be larger than life. Hey, 305 pounds. That's larger than life. 6'5".
Well, boys have gotten bigger in 2025. I don't know that he's larger than life. This has become a really interesting conversation piece. Because I think Texas fans look at his resume and go, what's his deal?
Yeah.
They look at it, they go, okay, well, he was at Ohio State. He's leaving. Why is he leaving Ohio State? What's up?
And the numbers are going down, not up.
Yeah, it was like, oh, well, he had 10 tackles this year. Look, this is a guy that played 125 snaps.
Yeah. He had 10 tackles. He had 10 2 years ago. This past year, he only had 4. It went down.
Well, again, he only played 125 snaps, which over the course of a bazillion games isn't a lot.
Right. He had one more tackle than Alex January. That's the kind of
Trill Carter from 2 years ago. If you have been able to retain that person, 2 years ago in 2023, Trill Carter played 200 plus snaps.
Okay.
So however big of a contributor you think Trill Carter was 2 years ago, and when he left in the portal, remember how you felt or you didn't feel. Hero plays less than Trill did in more games. But this guy's kind of the Amari Nyblack of the Ohio State roster.
Okay.
The expectation for next season was that he was going to have a much bigger role. So did Ohio State break their neck to keep him? No. Did Ohio State want to keep him? Yes. Did they think he'd be a guy that would absolutely be in their defensive tackle rotation and potentially an NFL football player like before he leaves? Yes. So, one of the things that I was told by a source last night, and I don't think this was specific to the player that we're talking about, but he qualifies, I think, in this discussion. They're not taking anybody in the portal that they don't think can be an NFL player. That's what I was told, that as they're evaluating in the portal right now for what's available, but they're also evaluating for what they hear might be available in the portal. They want guys that have NFL upside. That's what they want to. And if he's proven, then great. If he's not proven, but they think he can be an NFL player down the road, there's a level of interest that might be had. I think they look at Naku and they say, that's a guy that might play on Sundays. He might be Ohio State's version of Vernon Broughton. He's playing. We think he can be good. Light switches never come on, but we're not going to completely panic because he's got a couple of years left. And you keep riding it out thinking there's a player in there, and it's just a matter of it materializing. You look at Texas. The one thing they've done in the portal, and we can talk about whether or not they've done this super effectively, but they have addressed a couple of – they have potentially a starting nose tackle in Cole Brevard, and then they've got a potential like starting, 3 technique, 5 technique. As that outside guy kind of moves around. They use that kind of outside defensive tackle to slide up and down the line of scrimmage to a certain extent, but – that could be Travis Shaw, the defensive tackle they brought in from North Carolina, a guy that has a former 5-star prospect that has, in theory, Sunday upside. Has he been a Sunday player? Not even close. Would he have played next year at North Carolina? Absolutely. Might he start at Texas this year? Absolutely. So they've got a couple of guys in the portal. We know they just brought in Justice Terry. And I think what's interesting about this guy is I think he's competition for Justice Terry. In that he's not necessarily a nose tackle. He's a guy that now would be competing against Travis Shaw and Justice Terry for playing time at that other defensive tackle spot. And so, I think if you're Texas, you want depth. You'd like to have this is a guy with 2 years of eligibility remaining. So he doesn't automatically have to be hit or miss, and he's gone one way or the other. When I talked to people in the program last night, nobody went on a limb to say we're getting this guy. There's an acknowledgement that they're interested, and it can't be also ignored that he's the first visit. Texas was the first visit that he took. That usually means a lot in the portal world.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, of these teams you mentioned, like Texas, maybe Texas A&M, Florida has been mentioned.
He's at Florida right now.
Okay, so definitely he's got an SEC mindset, but it's different. Clearly, 3 different spots in the SEC. So because of the Texas timing, is that kind of the favorite? Are you hearing that one makes sense more than the others, or is it all kind of even right now?
I got a pretty generic update. I was told, think we got a good chance. Would have preferred him not to get on a plane to go to Florida. Probably need to wait and see what it looks like from an NIL standpoint after he visits potentially both Florida and A&M. Doesn't sound like a guy that's looking to give away discounts. And I don't know why he would. Like, I don't even know why I say that, but like, why wouldn't you? Like, you know what? Shame on me. Like, why wouldn't a human being who has options explore his options and make sure that he does the thing that makes most sense from whatever things matter the most? Like, I apologize to him for potentially that just sounding slanted in a negative way. Didn't mean it to, and it could have. Texas wants him, but can they guarantee that he's absolutely going to be a starter? No. Right. What they do from an NIL standpoint, though, I think is really interesting. They've taken care of their retention going into the spring, which if this kid had been available 2 weeks ago, they probably aren't involved, because the last thing you want to do is take a guy in the portal, get in a little bit of a auction with other schools over what the price is going to be, and then have defensive tackles on. If you're Alex January and you're like, well, look, I basically played as much as he did. You're going to give him $750,000? Like, hey, then I want $750,000. I'm basically that guy, except I haven't been on campus multiple seasons. I'm actually probably ahead of that guy. So I don't think they would have done this a couple of weeks ago when they were trying to secure the roster. But now that the roster is secure, they can be more aggressive in the portal. I was told with the USC, and I don't mean to use Cody Carpenter's information, and I'll be vague with the specifics, and I'll let him do with it what he wants to. But, he got word back yesterday that Texas was financially aggressive with Emmanuel Pregnon, the offensive lineman who ends up transferring from USC to Oregon. Mm-hmm. If what he heard, and we'll vet that a little bit more and maybe have the specifics later in the week. I'd love to have that specific stuff in the war room, but probably need to vet it a little bit more and confirm from the Texas end some of the numbers that we heard. But like Texas wanted to be really aggressive in the portal when it opened. But then retaining its roster became super problematic, and that became the lion's share of the focus. How frisky they get, kind of remains to be seen. But if what we heard with Pregnon is correct, and I don't doubt that it is, it sounds right to me, based on what I think I've heard other players on the roster getting, pulling in an all-conference, all Big Ten offensive lineman, the money, $1 million plus doesn't sound crazy. What do you offer for a guy like this? It's a rotational piece, probably. I don't know. I don't know what that value is. I don't know the way A&M what does A&M need at defensive tackle? They don't need a starter, do they? Or did they lose all their hosses and now they need a guy?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I look at those numbers, I don't look at a guy like this as some absolute need. The need is about rotation. The need is about a body, right? You want to put him in your rotation and see what he can become. Again, a la that Alex January. I thought of January today. I'm like, I wonder what that comp is. It's literally one tackle different. I mean, and it's not much, obviously. But
January played, they played January in the first half of the Ohio State game. His snaps might have been somewhat limited, but he was a guy playing in the biggest games of the season.
Yeah, and you and I both think a lot of January and what he can become. And I was like, okay, maybe it's comparable to that. But I wouldn't think, this is just me without knowing all three programs in depth, but if any of those three, Longhorns, Aggies, or Gators, are telling me this guy has to help them day one, snap one, something's wrong. Something's wrong. That kind of production, that's just, to me, that doesn't make sense. So I think it's got to be about filling in, are all three programs.
Who was the first guy that Texas took last year on those defensive tackles? If my memory serves me correct, it was Tia Savea.
Okay.
He was the first guy, and then
Before
later they get Bill Norton and Jermaine Lole. Those guys were like, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember the order, but I think Norton and Lole were the last two guys.
Okay.
The first guy they brought in was Tia Savea. Savea doesn't play, but Texas, in signing 3, got 2 that were, Jermaine Lole and these are really interesting guys to talk about because they were just solid rotation pieces. And in baseball, we would talk about replacement level players. All the confirmation bias in the world you might say, well, this guy was really good. And I was like, well, no, he hit 250. He hit 10 homers, stole 10 bases, had an OPS of 750. Like we can get one of them. We can find one of them. We can find a guy to hit 250. So it was a little bit like Bill Norton, where it was like, well, what did he do? What were his stats? Like, how many snaps a game did he give you? And it's like, oh, well, he played like 25 snaps a game or 30 snaps a game. And, was he a difference maker? No. So it's like, could Hero Canu have been that guy? Could he just as easily have given you Jermaine Lole production a year ago? And the answer might be pretty close. And then it might come down to, well, how much did one guy cost versus another guy cost? You look at the Texas defensive tackle position right now. They've got Brevard and Shaw from the portal. They've got January. They've got Melvin Hills. I don't think who anybody knows we don't even know if he can play. And then they signed the 3 freshmen, Justice Terry, Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles, all guys that are already on campus.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got 7 guys. I think you'd like to have 8 at a minimum if you're on an 85-man scholarship. So I think they're one guy. They need one more guy. But I think they probably feel like you'd like to have one more portal guy so that there's no pressure on you to hit on all of these guys. Because if they'd had one less of those Arizona guys, if Lole doesn't come in and they just get Norton and they just get Tia Savea, suddenly, I don't know that it impacts the one-loss record, but that defensive line's not quite as good by taking out the one more solid player really was needed. And I think if I look at the defensive tackle position right now, there's a lot of pressure on Justice Terry. Right now, he absolutely has to play. No questions about it. And oh, by the way, those 2 transfers absolutely have to play. And don't get an injury because you've got 2 veteran guys who are kind of unproven at the highest level. You've got a young guy in January that hasn't yet had the pressure of being counted on, really. And then you've got Justin Terry, who's a true freshman. Like, if one of those guys gets hurt, now you're having to play potentially Josiah Sharma or Myron Charles, whether they're ready or not. So from a depth standpoint, you've got to bake in. I think they need one more from a rotational standpoint. They need one more to protect against, at least one more to protect against anything happening or not working with the other 2 guys that they've taken. Travis Shaw hasn't been good really at North Carolina. Mm-hmm. If he's not good this year at Texas and Texas puts all their eggs in his basket and now suddenly they're really young, inexperienced, and maybe not ready, you'll think to yourself, we needed to go back into the portal. I think the question for me, Chad, is this guy going to be the best that's available the rest of the way? This is, to me, a bird in the hand versus 2 in the bush. If you take this guy, you might not be able to go back into the portal in the spring for whatever becomes available and really be a threat there because you will have too many bodies at that point. Who wants to be the 4th portal guy? And oh, by the way, there's a 5-star. And oh, by the way, Alex January is there. Like, that might be a little too crowded. So Texas has to decide, I think, is this the guy that we put all of our eggs in the basket for one more D tackle? Or if the bidding starts to get crazy, if A&M's going to give this guy $750 and Florida's offering $700, do we say, now we'll wait?
Yeah.
We'll wait. And I don't know the answer to those conversations. Like those questions, I think are the questions. And I don't even think Texas fully knows the answers today.
Well, let's go back to last year. The Dominic Williams thing happened in the spring portal, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If one of those shows up again, while that was going on, we had the discussion of, would you be paying too much now? Should you have just paid somebody? Now, we talked about Walter Nolan, so obviously this guy's not that. But that thought of like, it's the exact same thing, right? Do you go ahead and get this guy now? And maybe there's not a crazy discussion for money, but there's going to be a crazier discussion coming for somebody in the spring.
I think this guy's probably like a $500,000 NIL guy.
Yeah.
He's not getting nothing, but he's not on the high scale either. But if this guy became available in the spring, is he $1 million player all of a sudden in this new market?
Right.
Like, I think that is.
Does desperation play into it if he is willing to wait and push it down the line a little bit and nobody else surfaces? That's a wild game. Could be a wild gamble on his part. And then would the teams be gambling to wait?
And I think A&M and Florida are probably in the same boat. It is, man, we're really interested in you, and we think you can help us this year. Texas wouldn't be doing this if they didn't think this guy could come in and play right away. They wouldn't. You have to understand their needs. They're not trying to build for the future here. They need a guy 2026, no doubt about it.
Need some snaps.
He's the best guy in the portal right now by a mile. So he has, I think, a real value for what you can answer your question today with what.
And unlike Dominic Williams, he also has I was playing on that team. You want to know why I didn't get every single drop of opportunity? Look who I was playing with. We just won it all.
The team that ultimately had the best defense in the country, no offense to that Texas unit, but so the victors go to spoils, and Ohio State gets to claim that.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a different argument. All right, it's a lot of a different argument than what Dominic Williams would have been throwing out going from Oklahoma to anywhere. So I
think the important thing to stress, this is all gray area stuff, that calls will have to be made on the staffs that are recruiting this guy. And it's probably going to involve, do we think we're getting the bang for our buck? Can that matter for us? Let me put it to you like this. Let's say a Pregnon level offensive lineman hits the portal in the spring. Second team, all Big Ten. And if you're Texas and you feel like, look, man, we cannot go into the season with the starters that we have on the offensive line. It's just, suddenly like the conversation that we're having about with this guy, it just sounds different. The level of stress and anxiety and the thirst to get the guy, it sounds like Texas offered Pregnon the most amount of money. From a financial standpoint, Texas didn't cut corners. They did the thing that I think everybody assumed Oregon would do. And in the end, he just chose Oregon for slightly less money. If what a third-party source told Orange Bloods over the weekend is remotely correct, again, we'll vet that information, but it doesn't sound crazy. These are the discussions that will take place for a number of different players from now, and all of these schools will have them. And I think the unknown of what becomes available in spring is both dangerous and exciting at the same time. And if you make the wrong decision, you might rue the day in October when either the guy that you selected isn't panning out. Because again, Savea was the first of the transfer defensive tackles that Texas brought in. And then Norton and Lole followed. So I don't know. It's the whole thing's fascinating to me because there is no clear. If this thing were clear, we'd have already moved on. That it's nuanced and tricky, and that they're all kind of asking these questions and trying to decipher the value of a guy who didn't have a lot of value last year on the field. You can't say, oh, this is what he definitely is. This is what we're buying. It's a little trickier than that. It's a little bit more high risk. It's like a penny stock. It might hit big, but you might be wasting your time too.
Catch, there was a chat question I wanted you to get to, but real quick before we leave Kanu, when I looked up Hero Kanu, I have not looked up all the details. I see he was born in Germany. When I see something like that for a player, my first thought is, I wonder if there might be like military in the family, moving around a lot. Any idea geographically, like where the kid considers home to be as we look at these options? Because all I see is born in Germany.
Yeah, hold on. I saw this.
That makes me wonder about, Army or, like Army Brad or is it a family?
I saw this yesterday and it's pissing me off that I can't.
Okay.
That's not clicking in automatically, because I think on the Ohio State website, they listed him. He played at Santa Margarita Catholic. Where the hell is that? That sounds like Cali or something.
Right. That sounds like Cali. Okay. So it just could be a kid that's traveled a lot. If he's born in Germany, high school in California, and he already went to Ohio State, like there's no geographical thing, apparently. No geographical restrictions, I guess is what we're saying.
Well, and he went to Rancho Santa Margarita from California.
Gotcha. Okay.
But being from Germany, I think one of the things I would say about this guy is it makes me think he's not tapped out. You tell me a guy's grown up overseas and hasn't played a lot of football, then it doesn't surprise me that if a school like Ohio State has taken him, it's taken a few years to put the pieces together. That's the other thing to remember about this guy. Only in the world of 2025, in this new age of recruiting, where guys are making decisions about transferring sometimes 6 months into their career, sometimes 6 to 18 months into their career. We're talking about a guy that put 3 seasons in at Ohio State and is, as a guy that wasn't a super blue chip, what do we say about guys like that most of the time? In all likelihood, they need 2 or 3 years of baking in the oven and marinating before they're going to be ready to be big time players. I say this all the time about commitments that Texas get. When they're not super blue chips, it's like, probably will come in redshirt in his first season or see limited snaps. And then probably in year 2, they're playing special teams and maybe seeing a few more snaps. And usually it's year 3 where you start to say that's about when, like, if he's going to emerge as a player competing for a starting position, that's about the time you'd start to expect that to happen with almost every super blue chip or non-super blue chip. So when you look at Kanu like that, he's kind of right on schedule for, Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton might just say, like, that's the schedule. Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 years or 6 years. It could just be with this guy that, like, he's just now. And I think this is what they thought about him at Ohio State. It's like, oh, now you're leaving? We've developed you for 3 years, and we think next year's the year where, like, you really become a guy for us, and now you're leaving? That's kind of messed up. But
yeah. But it's all, yeah.
I think that looking at this guy like a bum because his numbers aren't standout-ish, I just think you have to think about all of the surrounding context. And if you do, I think maybe you can talk yourself into understanding why 3 big-time SEC programs like Texas, Texas A&M, Florida, all teams that will be preseason top 20 next year, all of those teams will be expected to have, 9-win seasons at a minimum. Like, I don't know what the expectations are for A&M right now from a 1-loss standpoint, but my guess is they're not saying, come on, 8-4. That would be a successful year too. I don't think that's what they'll say. So, these are programs that know who their competition is on the field, who they have to beat to get there. And they're breaking their necks to get this guy on campus.
Jay, I see your super chat. We will get to that. If y'all want to throw a super chat at us, it will go right to the top of the list. Before we do that, I got a great idea for everybody. We're crawling up on February. Catch told you, it's the last week of January. That means February's coming, and the weather in Central Texas can be so perfect in February. Might be a good time for a little Deep Eddy vodka tasting room out there in beautiful Dripping Springs. You kidding me? Little Texas Hill Country vibe. Get some of these great cocktails. Pair it up with that great Crimson Creek Smokehouse barbecue. It's just one of the best experiences you will have. Go hang with friends, family, whoever you like. Don't take people you don't like. That's not the way to do it. Take the people you like. They're all about having a good time out there at the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. If you want to do a tasting, that's a great way to do it. That's what we did last time we went. Found out a little bit about the history of the vodka. What's the most popular flavor? First flavor that they made. All that kind of stuff. Go check it out at the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. A lot of reasons to be jealous of the weather in Texas. February is one of them. It's on the way. Go look at the forecast. It's about to hit. We're going to have a high in the 70s in the next few days. It's going to be crazy. All right, Catch. Our man Jay had a question for you for $5. Catch, is there enough data yet to go back and look at recruits under Sark at Texas and see if they are hitting at a higher or lower rate than they should? Good Lord, Jay. Why don't you just throw a pile of cocaine in front of Tony Montana? What a catch-em question that is. Well done.
Jay, the answer is yeah, there probably is enough data simply because there's not a lot of data. So we don't have to break our necks and just like quickly asking ourselves, hey, are we hitting on our guys? And if you look at the 2023 class, they signed 7. Well, Arch is about to be the starting quarterback. Jonte Cook is out. Anthony Hill's an All-American. Cedric Baxter is probably somewhere in the middle. Like at this point, he's not a hit or a miss, but he at least has a starter. Malik Muhammad, hit. Derek Williams would be a hit, but he got hurt. And I don't know how we eventually end up thinking about him. It's probably to be determined. And then Jelani McDonald, probably too soon to draw immediate conclusions. But of that group, every single one of those guys will be expected to be a starter, except maybe Derek Williams because of the injury, and Cook's the guy that's out. So the math on this says you hit 50-50, slightly better than that for a 5-star, slightly worse than that if it is a high 4-star. Just on that 7-man group in 2023, they're going to hit better than 50% on that. Unless Arch flounders, but you've got Anthony Hill, you've got Malik Muhammad, you've got, I want to count Jelani McDonald as a guy that's projected, I think, start next season. And that dude played a lot of the national championship game as a young player. It just kind of depends on, Jay, do you feel confident drawing conclusions on guys based on snapshots that we've seen? It's a little easier to do with 2022. It's DJ Campbell. It's Kelvin Banks. It's Neto Yamuzalo. 5-star offensive linemen say you go 50-50. If Campbell and Banks were both 5-stars, and they were, with all due respect to how rivals ranked DJ Campbell, the math says you should go 50-50 there. Kelvin Banks is a hit. It's just and Neto would be a miss at this point. So the math says if you're lucky, you get 2 out of 3, or the math says you might go 1 out of 3. Texas is slightly above that margin, and the one that hits a monster. And then the one that might bring it up is going to be a 3-year starter where we might quibble of just how good is or was DJ Campbell. I would say yes. Texas is above the national averages just on literally the snapshot that we just took. There's no data yet to suggest that they're not. The only certifiable miss would be Jonte Cook because he's already transferred. And then Neto Yamuzalo, if you want to say that guy's cooked and he's not, no pun intended, and he's not panning out and he's not going to pan out, then those are the two misses. But I think if we're going to do that, almost all of those other guys probably, because they've all started at young ages, I think we would have to, for a team that's been a national semifinalist 2 years in a row, I think early on we'd have to say those guys are on their way to being hits.
Jay, we appreciate the super chat as always. Catch, it's a regular chat, but somebody wanted to know, our man Big Cheddar wanted to know, any updates on the Notre Dame offensive linemen? We were talking about them going into the weekend.
Oh, look, super quiet on that front. I can't get anybody to even talk about it other than when I asked for kind of specifics, I got some kind of vague generalities that were insightful, not always insightful about like, hey, what's up with the Notre Dame guys? So I'm not hearing no. I'm not hearing that it's going to cost too much.
Have they visited a lot of places already?
Nobody hadn't seen a peep.
I haven't seen anything about them going anywhere. Like
there's been nothing reported that I've seen. I haven't been on.
Okay.
I haven't been on, like, I should probably check. Something surely is going to come out. It does make me think that those guys probably, I don't know, like if they're midterm guys, think about it. If they're not, and we're at this point now, it's pretty late, man.
Yeah. Oh, I'm also just thinking spatially, like a dudes that big get on airplanes, you'll notice.
Well, and you would, unlike Naku over the weekend, who posted pictures of him in his hotel room at the Four Seasons and inside the Texas locker room. These guys went media dark on social media, both of them.
Yeah, you'll see them around campus. People will be taking, hey, who's that guy walking around campus? I mean, it's just didn't hear that.
So we'll see. I expect Texas. I think Texas will. I have not been told no, and that is usually the easiest thing to get. You know, if I get silence, it's like, oh well, they don't want this discussed right now, and I'm trying to get it discussed. And I might get it discussed, but it won't come from this source or these sources. So sometimes you got to read between the lines. I don't necessarily take the silence as a bad thing. What that tells me is they're involved. To what level remains to be seen. But we haven't, unlike with Naku, we haven't heard that these guys have taken a first visit yet anywhere. But we also haven't heard they were at Texas this weekend. You think that would have gotten out? I can't, like I was a little, Naku kind of slipped by. Like quite frankly, I was trying to internet sleuth that guy and just wasn't showing up on Instagram. I just didn't see his stories, or that would have come out earlier. Stay tuned, Big Cheddar. No updates. I wish I had something better for you, but I'm not telling you no either.
There you go. If y'all want to throw in a super chat, we will get to those like we did with Jay's. If you want to do that, I don't see any super chats right now. Almost 800 of you in the Specs chat. Let's give Specs their love. Get all stocked up. Well, you got 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. So if you got a Super Bowl party you're planning for, do that. It's another event coming up this weekend. We'll get to that one. Here's Lisa.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets.
Maybe you're stocking up for Royal Rumble next Saturday night in Indianapolis. If you're a wrestling freak like me, maybe you're getting ready for some basketball games. Texas hoops, both sides, with huge shots late in games. Mark hits the big shot for the men's side, big comeback all the way back against the Aggies. And then on the women's side, Madison Booker hits a huge shot, not quite buzzer beater, but game winner with about 20 seconds to go. And the women are at home Thursday. If you want to go see them against Missouri, that's an 8 o'clock start. The men are headed to Oxford to take on Chris Beard's crew this week. So get all stocked up.
Getting no buzz. Like I haven't seen anybody on Orange Bloods mention the Chris Beard "we're coming to town" thing, but that will be awkward, man. That is.
Well, and I saw that game catch on the schedule. I saw at Ole Miss, at LSU, but that's before the game against A&M. And I know there were a lot of Texas fans thinking, oh, Lord, here we go. Aggie's going to come to town. They might sweep us for the season. By the way, last time A&M swept Texas in men's hoops, did you hear, Catch? Shelby Metcalf and Winston Cright. That's how long ago it was. 86, 87. And it's still going because Texas pulled that comeback. Once that happens, then the perspective on at Ole Miss really changes a little bit because now you got something to go fight for in a little different way. So that's an 8 o'clock tip Wednesday night, ESPN2. Congrats to both sides of Texas hoops, man. Big plays, big shots, and Catch. The Aggies learned a valuable lesson. Don't go on the road and shoot horribly from the free throw line. It's a bad idea. Really bad idea.
Don't go to the free throw. Like, don't make it a habit to not go to the free throw line.
Yeah, don't go very much at all. And then when you get there, you're terrible. Like, huh? And then on Texas's side, it's the exact opposite. Take way more and hit everyththing. Just hit everything you take.
It helps.
Best way to come back. Best way to come back in basketball when the clock isn't running.
It's always very frustrating when you're on the other side of the team that's not getting to the line and the other team. It's like, wait a minute. How are we in the double bonus and they've got one foul?
Yeah, that's it. That is it.
I thought, look, I know nobody wants us to do a long Texas women's basketball thesis, but they had. I give that was a low key, really good win last night. A week ago today, they were in Newark for a top 10 matchup of I can't remember who they were playing. It was in
the Maryland.
Maryland, that's right. They played Maryland in Newark.
And they kicked them around good.
They beat them like a drum.
They destroyed that team.
Then they had a game on Thursday at home against Tennessee, and it was a great game.
Yeah,
one of the best games, women's basketball games I've seen this season. I've seen a fair share. Highly competitive. It was a good game. And then less than 48 hours later, you're on the road at Ole Miss.
Easy game to overlook.
And you're down to
let down. And they almost did. But they figured it out.
They're down 7 in the fourth quarter, and it really felt like it was getting away from them. And then the real maturity of that team of no, watch us work it in the post and 1. Okay, now it's down to 3. Now, and then Taylor Jones was great. They've got shot makers to lean on in the clutch. They're not gonna beat South Carolina. They're not. It's like being in the NFL in the Mahomes era. It sucks because that's Texas is a Final Four caliber team that's just not at that level, which kind of skews, I think, the celebration we should probably have for how good they are. They're really good. They can go on the road and win tough games without arguably their best player. But God, can somebody take out? It's also very Joker or any of the big 3 in tennis back in the day, or even Serena, where it's can somebody just take them out?
Yeah, right.
Can somebody do that? Because I can't. But if I can play anybody else, I like my chances.
Yeah, if you want to go see that women's team again, Thursday night against Missouri at 8 o'clock. It's on SEC Network, but it's also right there at the Moody Center.
This is a hell of a week for women's hoops.
It really is. Yeah, there's some good stuff. Good stuff on the way. All right, we've got buy or sell coming up. I want to get Catch's thoughts on Junior Day from over the weekend. We will definitely hit that. Real quick, before we do it, let me remind you about AV Consultations. You came off the championship games, and you're headed towards the Super Bowl. Make your house the place. Everybody wants to come for the Super Bowl with AV Consultations. They've been doing it since 1988, setting everybody up with the screen they want, the TV they want, the size they want, the number of screens they want, with the speaker set up. Got to hide those cords. Make sure the kids aren't yanking cords out of the wall. Get the furniture that you've always wanted for that movie room. They do it all. Let them handle every detail. Let them buy the TV or TVs for you, because they know how to put it all together. They'll get you great deals that you can't get. They are the experts. Trust them, just like folks have for, 36, 38 years and counting? 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Super Bowl 59 coming up on the 9th with the Chiefs and the Eagles. All right, Catch. What do we need to know on a Monday about Junior Day from over the weekend? A lot of big dogs came to town for Texas to at least to see Texas for visits. Anything massive come out of it?
Well, I think one of the first things you'd have to know is that Steve Sarkisian was out for the count on Saturday with some sort of illness.
Oh, hope he didn't have what you had.
What's that?
I hope he didn't get what you got.
Well, or Sukamel, right? Like,
yeah, right. Y'all both have had that.
If you've come down with either the flu or like the cold that's been going around, like it sucks. It took me out for 6 days, and like really, like there were days where I just didn't want to get out of bed. So when I hear that Steve Sarkisian was sick, it's like, oh, hope we didn't have that. Regardless, he wasn't able to attend the junior day. So I think luckily for Texas, and I told Sukamel this privately, Texas is actually really lucky that they didn't have a lot of, if you wouldn't want this to be a weekend where a bunch of big time out of state guys came in because Sark wouldn't have been there. So you wouldn't want to wait. I don't want to, forgive the expression, but like waste a bullet on a weekend where Sark is so important to these recruitments. For him to have not been able to be around would have just felt like, oh, we finally get this guy in town and like Sark can't be there. That would have just been bad luck. And they didn't, as fate would have it. Most of the focus was on in-state guys. Now, look, the good news is the guys that came in did 5 of the state's top 9, 10 of the top 20. That's a good number because the thing is, you're not getting commitments really. And if you do, it's kind of a pain in the ass for the staff more so than it is a good thing. Like everybody likes to get commitments because you get to celebrate and like taunt the teams that you got the guy over. Like, ha, A&M offered, we got this guy. Like you get to do that. But then you have to babysit and hold on to him for the next 10 months. And that's not really the position that this staff prefers to be in. They rather be on the offense than the defense. So it will not break their heart that they didn't walk away with a bunch of commitments this weekend or any commitments. They got these guys on campus. The goal is going to be get them on campus another 2 or 3 times in the spring. Get them in for a practice. Get them in for the spring game. Get them in for a pool party. Get them in for your official visit. Get them in for the Texas relays or the state track meet. Like, get them on campus 2 or 3 more times. Put a notch on that belt because you want to get these guys on campus 6, 7 times in their junior and senior years. And when you do that, you put yourself into a great position of like landing these commitments. It doesn't work every time. Michael Fasus is a perfect example. Texas got him on campus a bunch of times. And in the end, it wasn't quite enough. But it took all of that just to even be competitive with Oklahoma, who also was able to get him on campus a lot. So they bring in Jalen Lott, who I think is potentially the best prospect in the state. He's a Longhorn legacy. It's nice when there's a 5-star talent who's the son of one of your former players. Feels like the Aggies get that more than Texas gets that, but this is one of those years.
A 5-star talent who happens to be a legacy. That's never a bad idea.
I mean, when his last name is Matthews, you always know where that's going.
Get you a pretty good feeling. You're that school. If you're that school, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen, but it does happen.
It's like, well, Jalen Lott, is that guy related to James Lott? Oh, he is. Oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. You know, is that Finley kid? Huh.
I was about to say, Texas fans also hope that is true for Jermichael Finley's son.
You're like, huh? So we get to be on the beneficial side of legacies this year. Yeah. Longhorns. One of the guys that didn't come in this weekend was John Turntine III, who might be the most, given that they didn't get Fasusi last year, there's a lot of thought that either Turntine or Felix Ojo, the offensive lineman from Mansfield Lake Ridge, who was in town this weekend, he also might be a 5-star tackle when it's all said and done. I think Texas is a big leader for both. Turntine went to Tennessee this weekend, but he's got multiple siblings who are literally students at Texas right now. He's been to Texas a bunch. He'll visit Texas a bunch more. Like, I didn't think it was a big deal that he didn't show up this weekend. Would you have liked to have had him on campus? Yes. Do I think it will ultimately impact his decision at all? Not really. No, that guy made a decision like a kid that knows I'll probably be in Austin a bunch this spring, but I might not get a chance to go to Tennessee. So why not go to Tennessee this weekend? Sometimes you have to take your Texas blinders off and just maybe see the world like a 17-year-old who's being wanted for the first time in his life. Sometimes you just want to see some stuff. No commitments, a really good in-state visit list. And I think things look really good for Texas in 2026. I think that they told these kids, we're selling them the idea of going back-to-back number one recruiting classes, that's their goal. They did it last year. They wanted to do it again this year. I think they will do better in-state at the top in recruiting than they've done in any year since Sark has been here. So if the out-of-state recruiting for Texas is on the level that it's been the last few years, I think they're going to wipe it up in-state. That the combination of having a couple of legacies, that the number one, Oklahoma had an edge for Michael Fasusi in that his best friend was going to Oklahoma. Well, Texas has an edge in that the number one prospect in the state this year at the same exact position has siblings who are in Austin right now. It is sometimes those go and it doesn't mean that they're automatically going to get John Turntime, but it's a hell of a secret weapon to have. Meanwhile, another potential five-star guy, Jamarian Carlton, he's from Temple. Sometimes the guy plays high school football, man, an hour from your campus, and you're the closest school, and he's been to your school a bunch, and, it's coming. Even the guy that's at North Shore this year, which has been, I don't want to say anti-Texas, but Texas hasn't exactly been mopping it up at North Shore lately. Well, this year, the best prospect at North Shore happens to be a guy that loves Texas and might be the next commitment when it's all said and done. So, the thing that I would tell Texas fans today, the in-state 2026 recruiting class, there's a lot of really positive signs and lucky breaks that are going in your direction early on that, it's like, oh, there's a badass safety at North Shore. I think recently your instincts will be, well, he ain't coming here. And it's like, oh, well, no, he loves Texas. Oh, and you're like, oh, well, the number one player in the state happens to have siblings that are already out of school. And you're like, crap, top 5% rule. How the hell are we? Oh, they're both at Texas. Oh, okay. Smart family. It's like, sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. This seems to be going Texas's way in a way that I haven't seen in a long time, where it just feels like if you're an Aggie and you're looking at the top players in the state, you're like, come on, man. Like, it just feels like Texas is the one catching the breaks right now.
And just for those Texas fans wondering, because of this Sark illness, when he wasn't able to do what they would have wanted to do normally. For those that might be wondering, hey, is there any way to reschedule and work stuff around? This is the only junior day they're going to be able to have, right? Because there's a February dead period on the way.
They could have one Saturday if they wanted. They're just not doing another junior day. Okay. Now, it's possible that some guy, a few select guys could come into town this weekend. Mm-hmm. Maybe even a guy like John Turntine, right? I mean, it might be that Texas says, we're not having a junior day, but we have it for the guys that didn't come in last weekend.
Right.
Hey, if you want to come in, get some one-on-one time, we'll give you your own personal junior day. That could happen, but that could also not happen. I'm just telling you, February is a dead month. So
you're not allowed to have them on campus pretty much the whole month, right?
At all. You can't, not pretty much. They can't.
Okay. You can communicate with them, but you can't have them in person.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And so, from a visit standpoint, Texas has a few more days. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of names drop into town. But from a junior day standpoint, Texas made the decision. And I think they know largely they got all of the in-state guys in that they would want to get in. That's 10 of the top 20. and half of the top 10 is really good, especially when you consider that the two that didn't come in the top 10, Jermichael Finley's son and John Turntine, who, like I said, has been to Austin a million times. So you could make a case that, okay, we'll grandfather those two. 7 of the top 10. The only guy in the top 10 there's a badass quarterback. Did you watch the All-America game a couple of weeks ago? Did you see Keshawn Henderson?
Yes, I did. I saw a little bit of it.
He's pretty dope.
Pretty damn good, yes. I still have those highlights on there. I've seen a little bit, didn't see the whole game yet.
He's committed to Houston, partly because Houston was one of the only schools a year ago that was like, we'll take you as a quarterback. And everybody else was like, we'll recruit you as an athlete. Now everybody's like, we're recruiting you as a quarterback, and you kind of get the sense that kid ain't going to be committed to Houston forever. Why would he be? Like, now everybody wants him, but Texas has a commitment from Diabell, who's a 5-star, and they got their guy. So as good as Keshawn Henderson is, Texas isn't going to be involved with him.
Right.
So he's one of the top 10 that didn't come in. A kid named Davian Gross. I think he visited Baylor this weekend. He's number 6 on my LSR list. He's a running back. Well, he didn't come in, but Texas did bring in running backs KJ Edwards and Javion Osborne. Those are their top 2 guys. So I think they didn't have Gross come in this weekend because they are prioritizing 2 other guys. And then the only other guy in the top 10 is Finley that otherwise wouldn't have come in. So Texas got the difference makers in town that they wanted. I view, all things considered, you have to view what a success is differently than when Mac Brown was here or even 5 years ago. I think they'll feel really good. I mean, I think they'll ask themselves, do we think we'll get Jalen Lott? Yes. Do we think we'll get Jamarian Carlton? Yes. Do we think we'll get Felix Ojo? Yes. Do we think we're going to get one of Javion Osborne or KJ Edwards? Yes. Do we think we'll get Chase Calicut? Yes. Those are the top 6 guys that were on campus.
Yeah.
If you're telling me you're going to get 5 of those 6 at a minimum, I think you'll feel pretty good about like where you are with in-state recruiting. So you'll have more on this in the recruiting show with Sukamel. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. I kind of want to get into some of these top guys, but snapshot, 100% really good weekend from 30,000 feet up.
Yeah, and crazy how that calendar does work this year, where February 1st is a Saturday. So it does take away that whole possibility of a true weekend coming up. All right, so there's the update there. Anything else we need to hit Junior Day-wise before we buy or sell, Catch?
No, man, let's buy or sell. I have my questions in the system and everything.
Look at you. You want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Hit it.
Buy or sell number 1. If Pete Kwiatkowski went elsewhere, you wouldn't worry if you were a Texas fan because of Johnny Nansen.
I think on its face that's a buy. I think the rep is enough there that you have felt like his fingerprints are on this defense to a certain degree anyway. Now you just have to see what it looks like in totality. But yeah, buy. I'd feel pretty good that I have a guy like that's been a DC at a power program before, and you already have that connection with Sark. So yeah, buy.
Did you see my 10 thoughts from the weekend?
I did.
Did you see my comments on the Cowboys?
I did.
Buy or sell number 2. You believe me when I say I've cut the cord with the Cowboys? Or am I just trying to convince myself that I've cut the cord with the Cowboys?
I'm going to sell for now. It's not that I don't believe. I mean, it's not that I don't think you could get there, but we're so early.
What's the test?
It's not even February. We got tests coming up, multiple tests.
What are the tests?
If I didn't bring it up and you get all the way to like draft Wednesday and we haven't talked Cowboys draft at all, you haven't said a word about it, then I might start to believe that you've cut the cord.
I mean, that's probably not going to happen.
Because when you talk, because you have made statements like you're out, and I just don't know if
No, that's not quite what I've said.
Out.
I said I am out from an emotional investment standpoint.
Right. Which
But
I
I'm
thought,
still a Cowboys fan. I will still pay attention, but my level of like investment is dead.
okay, that part I believe. I'll buy that. And frankly, I thought that's where you already were. So come join us all.
No.
Come join us in Flatlineville. I've been there a long time.
You know, it's still like instead of watching the Cowboys on the Red Zone channel, I am like, gotta have it on Fox proper, that kind of a thing. Whereas now it's like, you know, like I'll see enough of it.
Right. You're literally about to get to a point. I'm not there. I'll admit I'm not at this point yet. You're going to tell me that if it's like a 3:25 kick, noon kick, wherever they kick, if they're on one of those windows, you're telling me the Cowboy game will not be your primary game to watch ever again?
Not ever again.
Okay.
But
because that would be out. That's out.
See, but like that, putting it on the Cowboy game does not mean that suddenly I'm emotionally, I reject that's the idea that there's a stipulation there that somehow invalidates my lack of emotional investment.
See, yeah, we will monitor as we go along. I thought we were in the same spot. I'm just learning maybe we're not quite in the same spot.
I think how I talk is in the same spot, but I'm like one of those guys. It's like, here's who I've been.
You haven't acted.
Man, my girlfriend's a bitch.
Oh, here we go.
But when she's around me,
yeah,
it's like, you know, I love you, right?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
You know, I hate my girlfriend. She's so mean. Oh, hey, whoa.
Okay. Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me she was right behind me?
We will just have to have counseling sessions as we get closer to another Cowboy season. Probably both of us. It'll probably do both of us good.
Speaking of the Cowboys, this is actually the question I've been waiting to ask you all day long. Buy or sell, number 3. Tom Brady was better yesterday as an analyst than Tony Romo. I have a very definitive opinion on this that I will share after I hear your take.
Brady was a better yesterday as an analyst. I've been really impressed with Tom in year 1, the development of it. I mean, he wasn't perfect at the beginning, but you can feel him learning. By the end of it, Championship Sunday, was he better than Romo? I mean, it's not a capital B, but I'll buy it. Probably. I mean, as I'm trying to feel it out, like Brady, you know, Romo got to call the better game, obviously, the tighter game, but Brady was damn good. So I'll say buy. What do you think?
I thought Tom Brady was excellent yesterday. The best I've ever heard him. There have been too many times this season where it feels like he's playing game analyst and is just doing it paint by numbers. And so I don't feel like, I don't know who Tom Brady is as an analyst. It's funny, as I listen to Aikman now, Aikman has grown into grouchy old Cowboy legend guy. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like him going YOLO and just not giving an F anymore about anything. I don't know what happened. Some people have suggested that it required Brady and Manning and the old guard of quarterbacks to retire. And that now these new age, they're kids. And so like, he just doesn't care. I realized yesterday who Tom Brady has to be.
Okay.
He has to be 7-time champion asshole. Because there was a moment in the game yesterday where he almost lost it. And that's when I realized that's who Brady has to be. When Jaden Daniels threw a ball out into the flat to Zach Ertz at one point in the second half, and Ertz flat out drops the ball, Brady audibly was angry. Mm-hmm. He was basically like, that cannot happen. And suddenly the dictator quarterback on the field, in a flash, he was so mad at Zach Ertz. He was like, a Freaking rookie quarterback makes the throw he has to make, and the veteran drops the ball. He was so mad. And then he buttoned it up. And it occurred to me, Tom, you can do anything because you're Tom Brady.
Yeah.
If Tom Brady wants to be the best version of Tom Brady, he has to be the guy who's like, I'm a perfectionist. And you know what I hate? Non-perfection. And every time somebody does something imperfect, I want to see Tom Brady get disgusted by them.
Yeah. But see, and you can feel him learning throughout the season. Remember the shot he took at Baker Mayfield when he thought Baker was taking a shot at him, he took that shot right back at him, and the play-by-play guy looked over like, "Okay, Tom, here we go. TB12 is pissed." I agree with you, man. Let that fire out. That's when Brady was at his best in a way.
No one can say anything to Tom Brady.
Right. It is the greatest graphic to me in sports right now when the play-by-play guys thing says like Fox NFL analyst and the other one says 7-time Super Bowl champion. It was great. It's great. And he's getting better and better at the technology, using it to tell the story he's trying to tell. But you're right. When he has those little moments of reaction, he explains it better than like a Romo can. Because Romo does it from almost like, I'm a fan of this sport, and oh, by the way, I used to play. Brady comes at it from, I was the best that ever did this thing, and let me help you understand my game.
There
it's
was
two
a
different ways to
moment
do it.
At the end of the first half, and I can't remember if it was the Eagles. I think it was Washington when they had the end of their first half, whatever. And they ended up getting a field goal on the drive to end the first half. But Brady, there's no timeouts left. And Brady, in like 5 seconds, explained as a quarterback the route combinations that you would absolutely have to have in play. And he was like, I want 2 guys doing this, 2 guys in the middle doing that, got to get out of bounds. And like, it was just like, oh, you just explained what you're looking for, the way he did it better than Romo, better than any quarterback I've ever heard in that one moment, explaining that one very specific thing incredibly well and concise. More of that, Tom. I really thought, I have not been a big Brady guy all year long. I actually thought he came out as a star, I thought, in the biggest broadcast that he did of the season. Maybe that's what we should expect of a 7-time Super Bowl champion, is that in his Super Bowl, he's got to be a bum.
He has a chance to be better than Aikman, and I didn't think I would have said that.
And Aikman's the best he's ever been right now.
Aikman is the best I've ever seen at what he is, and I think Brady could end up being better than he is.
I love that Aikman now just has hit old man. And the great thing is he's not old. So we might get like another 10 or 15 years of Aikman
he's terrific.
Not caring.
Yeah, he's terrific. And that's the path Brady is on. That's the exact path. And that's who Brady should call. Brady should call and talk to Aikman. That's it. That should be his goal, to get as good as him and then pass him.
Buy or sell number 4. You still can't believe Texas completed that comeback against the Aggies on Saturday.
That's a buy. That is a buy. But it's one of those, you could feel it coming, man. You could feel it coming. It was like watching a dump truck hit a pane glass at the front in slow motion. It was like a truck carrying the eggs hit a truck carrying, I don't know,
it was like when they carry Axel Foley out of the building in Beverly Hills Cop 1, and you're like, hey, a bunch of guys are carrying him. Are they going to throw him through? Oh, they are going to throw him through the window. Okay.
Yeah, it was it was unbelievable to watch. But just as it was happening, I'm like, I think this is going to happen. I think it's going to happen. You can't miss free throws like that. You can't let them hang. How do you let them hang? Off the window. Yep, there it is. There it is. And that last shot, knew that wasn't going in. You could tell me it was close. I'd tell you were wrong. He hit the side of the building for all I could see. Like, that shot had no chance to go in. The basketball gods were like, nope, sorry. You can't have that
was
one.
An easier shot to make than the shot that Mark hit to actually win the game.
Yeah.
I did not think that was going in.
Yeah.
And it did. And I was like, wow.
That was a hell of a shot.
Buy or sell number 5, gut reaction, Chiefs over Eagles.
Yeah, buy. I'm not picking against Reed and Mahomes until somebody shows me they can do it. That is how I think it will go. I think we're going to see history. First team ever to get to the Super Bowl to try to go 3 in a row, and I think they're actually going to finish it.
I thought that was their best performance of the season yesterday.
Just incredible. Cowboys, Niners, Steelers are the 3 teams that got closest, and now they are the ones that actually get there. Let's see if they can go 3 in a row.
Tip of the cap, man.
I mean, it was impressive. It was impressive. All right, Catch, buy or sell. Number 1, for the record, John Turntine not coming to Texas Junior Day and going to Tennessee's is cause for concern in Austin.
Sell. Don't sweat it.
Okay. Speaking of Texas, buy or sell number 2, Texas men will make the tournament. Texas women will make the Elite 8.
Buy. Yeah, and, the thing about the Texas men, I've been saying for weeks now, it might be easier for them to make the Sweet 16 than it will be to actually make the tournament, because night in and night out, the SEC has been such a grind. And look, they got to go on the road twice this week, and those aren't gimme games. I mean, they could go 0-2, and then the week after, that's 2 ranked teams, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, the bubble again.
Bubble.
But I think they're going to make the tournament, and then look, you got to win twice in the tournament to get to the Sweet 16. And it's really hard to do, and Texas hasn't done it a lot. But as A&M found out this weekend, man, when Trey Johnson gets going,
yeah,
he can win you a game. And the one thing that Texas does have is I think they've got some guards. They've got shot makers that in a tournament setting, could they get hot for a couple of games? Yeah, like they're not a threat to win the championship or anything like that, but they certainly, by the time they get to the tournament, every SEC team will be so battle tested with regards to what it's like to play tough games. And I think the SEC, like they let you play in the tournament, and so do the SEC officials. They let teams play. I don't have any real complaints. Generally speaking, they go into games, and they did it in the women's game last night too, between Texas and Ole Miss. It was like, oh, okay, well, that's not a foul.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a foul. And it was like, oh, they're not calling that. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't consistently call that, I'm okay with it. And then you realize, oh, this crew's going to let these 2 teams play. Cool, let's go.
Yeah, I also want to see if Mark can make that shot be more than 1 shot.
Oh, he won't. But
it's an incredible moment. But can they count on him moving forward for some important stuff because of it?
He, to me, is very similar to Hunter from a year ago. You're going to get like 1 out of every 4 games.
Right.
He's going to deliver like he scored 17 and made the game-winning free throws.
But you can't count on it every game.
No. And you just hope that in the right moments is when those occasionals come in, and they're really hard to time when you get to the tournament. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, he did it in the game against the 13 seed. Wish he just saved that for the next game when it doesn't happen.
Yeah. All right, Catch, here we go. Buy or sell number 3. As a Cowboys fan, barely caring at all, you'll root for Kansas City to get number 5 if it means Philly loses.
I mean, but I'm rooting for Kansas City. I'm rooting for history. And it will not So the Eagles have been to too many Super Bowls since the Cowboys have last gone to a Super Bowl.
3's too many, huh?
What?
3's too many.
I mean, we're now at what, 4?
God, is it 4? Wait, they beat the Patriots, lost to the Patriots. Oh God, you're right. And now this is the second one with the Chiefs. You're right. It's 4 since then. My bad. 5 total.
Like, I've had to come to grips with the fact that the Eagles have already won.
It's like 6.
So like I've already lived with that. Like the Eagles having won, that killed a piece of my soul, because it was one of the things that I lived and breathed on was they've never won a Super Bowl, but now that they have, and it was recent.
Yeah. So as a Cowboys fan, though, if a Cowboys fan says to you, Catch, I don't want somebody else in the 5 club with us, you would tell them that doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters. I no longer care.
Gotcha. Okay. That I think is how I cannot. There's no way I could actively root for the Eagles. There's just no way.
Cowboys. Look, the thing is, Cowboys haven't done anything in 30 years. Like, do I really want to get into a historical conversation?
You're right.
Hey, we've been 5 times. No, I have no desire.
Yeah.
To play big bank, little bank with NFL football fans.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Catch, let's hit some birthdays on the way out. Buy or sell number 4. Speaking of the NFL, Chris Collinsworth is 66 today. Jack Youngblood was 75 yesterday. They went to the same college, and you can name it.
Dun-na-na-na-na. Go, Gators! Dun-na-na-na.
The image in my head is I wish Jack Youngblood and Chris Collinsworth had been at Florida at the exact same time. There's no way they were friends. No chance. Like Jack Youngblood would have beaten Chris Collinsworth up like 8 times the week he met him. There is no doubt in my mind. But yes, they are both Florida Gators. Well done. And finally, Catch, how about this for a birthday? Buy or sell number 5. Andrew Ridgely hit 62 yesterday. You can tell me who he is.
Bye. He's the second half of Wham.
Yeah, you're damn right he is. If you haven't seen the documentary, kids, Andrew Ridgely is my new favorite musician of all time because he is the greatest, musical bandmate I have ever heard of. Watch that documentary and listen to him talk about George Michael, about the talent of George Michael, and what he thought of George Michael. I've never seen it, Catch. There's so much pettiness in that world. Everybody's petty and they're bitchy and they're mean and they just hate each other and they drink too much and snort too much coke and they just end up being horrible people. Not Andrew Ridgely. Not Andrew Ridgely. He is the GOAT of good friends and good bandmates. He's the best I've ever heard of. Happy birthday to Andrew.
Not exactly the Eagles there in that relationship.
Not the Eagles, not Fleetwood Mac, not the Black Crows, not Oasis, none of it. Wham! I never knew that Wham is the greatest example of a band just getting along through all of it that we ever had. It's incredible. That's a good doc. And the other doc I need to see is the Yacht Rock documentary.
Oh, that's so good. You'll enjoy that. That's a lot of fun.
And that's an HBO doc, is that right?
Yes.
That one I have to see at some point along the line. All right, that is buy or sell. Let me just scan here. I don't see any super chats. Anything else we need to hit, Catch?
I'll just say on the Yacht Rock thing, I think one of the things you'll like about that, almost 90% of the people involved in the documentary are just glad that somebody wants to talk to them. You know what I mean? And look, Michael McDonald is like the guy that kind of gets he's the prince, the king of Yacht Rock.
Right.
The guy just likes being talk about a guy that's just a good dude. And you're just like, oh, I just want to hang with Michael. Why don't I have a Michael McDonald just in my life? Mm-hmm. And so the thing about Yacht Rock is almost all of the guys that are in it are just like, you know what? It's just cool that people like our music 40 years later. That is awesome.
That is a good thing when you get old enough to see the artists get old enough to just appreciate it. Like when you go to those concerts and they look out there like, oh my God, look at these people showed up. That's unbelievable. That's a good feeling. And
the only people that don't like Yacht Rock, oh God, why am I drawing a blank? Who's the band that's the king of Yacht Rock? Why am I
I don't know, REO Speedwagon or
no, the jazz band, the
Doobie Brothers.
No, I cannot believe I'm brain.
I'm not a Yacht Rock guy.
I literally said their name out loud and I just smoked too much. And now
Asia, Styx,
Steely Dan.
Steely Dan. Okay, there you go.
The guys at Steely Dan are like, you can miss us with the Yacht Rock. But everybody else is like, hey, man, you want to talk? Let's talk.
So
let me tell you about the cocaine I did back in 77.
Wait a minute. You're saying Steely Dan does not want to be known as Yacht Rock?
Oh, I'm not going to give you any more.
Okay, good. All right.
I'm not going to tell you anymore.
Because one of my things is I can watch a music doc about an artist or a genre that I don't even like. And I'm not even a Yacht Rock guy. I never seek it out. not something I want to listen to when I wake up in the morning, but I would love to just hear them talk about the whole deal. Because like my wife, way into yacht rock. She loves that stuff.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's fun.
Yeah.
I've seen it twice. It's a good watch.
We got to check it out. All right.
And it's funny when people in the yacht rock genre treat yacht rock like the members of the Brat Pack that hate the Brat Pack label.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Don't say Brat Pack. We're so much more than that.
That documentary was wild to me because of that exact thing. I'm like, why wouldn't you want to? What's wrong with that? Like, I don't understand what the problem is. Yeah.
I got to send you a link of Rob Lowe did a deal with Bill Simmons. They did like a podcast for like 45, 50 minutes. And all the whole conversation was about yacht rock. So you got to watch the documentary.
Okay.
Because all they do is talk music and the Brat Pack for like an hour. And Rob Lowe's like, I love the Brat Pack. Like, what's wrong with the Brat Pack? Like, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the Brat Pack. And look how lucky my life has been. Like, he's just got the healthiest, best attitude about it. And he's not afraid to go like, yeah, I don't know why homeboy doesn't like the Brat Pack. They did a conversation where they were like, who's not in the Brat Pack that we need to count in the Brat Pack? And it was like Patrick Swayze. And they're like, well, you know, Patrick was in all of those movies that we were in. He was up for Youngblood and he was up for The Outsiders. And he was like, but he was just a little bit older than the rest of us and we didn't party together. So, you know, it was really interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating documentary too. All right.
When you're done with the yacht rock, let me know and I'll send you the link to because Rob Lowe is apparently, and Rob Lowe tells a story that he cut a demo with Toto.
Wow. Wouldn't have seen that one coming.
I saw that.
Man,
it's like the most interesting. He's like Forrest Gump of actors.
That is crazy. And is Toto yacht rock?
Toto's definitely yacht rock.
We will find out. All right. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. Over 800 of you in the Specs chat as we get ready to close. Football with Friends at 6 o'clock tonight. Old Fashioned tomorrow morning at 9. And the legendary Modcast is tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock with the fellas. Make sure you check that out. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Maybe some more Junior Day talk. Who knows what's happening by that time. More portal stuff. Offense, defensive line, maybe some skill guys. Who knows? Y'all take care, and we will talk to you tomorrow on House